Before I introduce the topic for this video, I would like to give a special thanks to all of my subscribers because, as of a few days ago, this channel reached 100 subscribers. So, to all my subscribers, viewers, and those who have supported me in this endeavor, thank you, thank you, thank you. It truly means a great deal to me. And now for today's topic. Multiple people each year mysteriously disappear in the forests and national parks of North America. This phenomenon might seem to some as a completely understandable phenomenon for lost individuals without wilderness survival training who get lost in the vastness of uncharted territories, but there are many bizarre similarities these cases have in common, which I will further elaborate upon in this video.
Hundreds of thousands of people visit national parks each year, but you might not realize that a number of those people go missing.
Yep, that's the focus of a brand new book. It's called Missing 411. Retired police officer David Politis is here. He logged more than 7,000 hours to investigate the disappearances of 411 people from national parks. Good morning, David. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
So 7 years it took you to research all of this. And when first thing I saw in this book we were looking at, and she read a good portion of it, I was able to skim it, the first thing that jumped out to me was clusters. What exactly does that mean when it comes to this book here?
So during the research of finding missing people that disappeared in the rural areas of North America, including Canada, we found that there were 28 different clusters of missing people, geographical clusters, that were never talked about and never known before. And it was a highly unusual find on our part.
Was it something it wasn't talked about because no one had ever really discovered the relationship between all of the disappearances, and you kind of found that there were these clusters that had something in common?
There isn't a lot of statistical data or a lot of public data that's available on missing people, especially historical data that maybe goes back 100 years. And putting the pieces together to see that the clusters come together and there is historical significance to it is something you don't hear about. We didn't understand it when we started.
I was so surprised to find out that one of the longest list of people missing is actually from Yosemite, right? For the western region, in fact, and it's so close to us. And I was just there in January, hard to believe. And you say that it's actually been difficult to get some information about the missing cases.
So when we started the project, we understood that the National Park System has a large law enforcement presence, and law enforcement is known to keeping a lot of data. Missing people, homicides, robbery, etc. Well, so we attempted to get information from them through the use of Freedom of Information Act, and we filed dozens of Freedom of Information Act requests for this data. We got information back that they didn't keep lists of missing people locally at Yosemite or at any other national park, and at a national level. And when we requested the data, the national parks came back and stated that they were going to charge us $34,000 for a list of missing people from Yosemite, and they wanted $1.4 million for a list of missing people nationally. And they stated that they just don't keep that data.
That's kind of shocking because it would seem to me like it makes sense that a national park of this size would be probably the first place where people would go missing. You would need that information. But no, not so much.
I think that they have the information. They don't want the public to know the information at this point. And we work with guys that are heads of large law enforcement departments in the United States. And their statement to me was, these people are not stupid. Yeah. They understand the need to keep this information. They just don't want to give it up at this point.
Exactly.
And you said, I was reading in the beginning here, that you actually, this all started just a conversation that you had with the ranger several years back.
Several years ago, about 3.5, 4 years ago, a ranger came up to me and said, hey, there's some disappearances at several parks I've worked at. And I think somebody needs to take a hard look at it because when the people disappear, there's a lot of publicity on the front end.
Right.
Soon after they disappear, you don't hear anything. There are some young kids under 10 years old that are missing from national parks. You never hear about them. Once they're gone, they're gone. They don't give them a lot of publicity, and it's a very disturbing fact.
story. George.
It's not a revelation to say that people get lost out in the wilderness or in forest areas. We're talking about a different kind of mystery, though. Disappearances that are not caused by predator attacks or criminals hiding out there in the woods or just bad luck. A former cop has put together hundreds of case files regarding clusters of missing persons in national parks where the circumstances are flat out strange. But don't expect any answers from the Park Service.
At the end of the night, I was staying in a motel off the government or off the Park Service land, and I get a knock on the door.
The person who confided in law enforcement veteran David Paulides was a government employee who told one heck of a story about people who vanish in national parks, places like Yosemite, but also national forests, including the Toyabe, west of Las Vegas. In the years since the knock at the door, Paulides has scoured small-town newspaper archives and pestered federal agencies for records. He found so many cases of missing people that a planned book became two, filled with more than 400 cases of people who went into national parks but never came out.
People disappear in the wilds all the time, and we're talking about something different. These were unusual things that don't make sense, that happen to cluster together in 3 to 4, sometimes as many as 20, 30 people missing at one location.
The individual cases are strange enough, Paulides says, but stranger still were the reactions of federal agencies when he asked for public records.
And when we FOIA'd them, we got a response back that they don't keep any lists of missing people.
The response was not only no, but hell no, he says, so he began putting his own list together and discovered what appears to be nearly 30 clusters of disappearances in national parks and forests, cases which meet a narrow set of odd characteristics. The people who vanish often do so right under the noses of others, in many cases of kids, their parents' noses.
Being parents and being responsible people, we understand there's no way my son or daughter wouldn't know the way back from being just down the road getting the ball.
But it happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
The missing defy logic. They hike uphill, for instance, often steep climbs. Children as young as 2 or 3 are found a day or two later many miles away and over mountain ranges.
Some kids are found in phenomenal distances away that would make no logical sense to any parent.
Weird things happen to their clothing. The missing often shed their clothes right away, even in bad weather. Clothes are found sometimes neatly folded, but not the people.
The ranger described to me, if you were standing straight up and you just had your shirt or just had your pants on and you melted directly into your pants, that's what it looked like to him. The pants were laying on the ground in a very neat pile.
The missing defy normal search and rescue practices. Bodies are found in places that are all but inaccessible, or they're found in the open, in areas that were repeatedly searched earlier. Bloodhounds or other tracker dogs are often befuddled.
If the dog can't find a scent, that's a red flag. If a dog, a canine dog, a trained dog, is put on the scent at the point last seen, and it lays down and it doesn't want to track anymore, red flag. And that happens more than you think.
Nevada doesn't have a major cluster, but it has plenty of cases. Children who vanished around Lake Tahoe, in the center of the state near Tonopah, and at Mount Charleston. In 1966, 6-year-old Larry Jeffrey of Henderson disappeared while playing with his 2 brothers, setting off a massive 16-day search by as many as 1,000 men. Former Sheriff Ralph Lamb remembers it clearly.
Walked away from camp. Never did hear from him, never did see him, never did find him. We had hundreds of people there working, almost shoulder to shoulder.
There's no large predators per se. So we can't worry about mammals taking him. And he was in a fairly remote area where there's no vehicular access, so there's no car abduction. This boy just walked into oblivion.
Neither the roughly 1,000 volunteers on the ground nor the multiple aircraft involved in the search were able to find Larry Jeffrey. If he had died in the area, cadaver dogs should have been able to pick up his scent. However, these dogs were completely unable to find any trace of him. As if this story isn't weird enough, the rabbit hole goes deeper still.
Other aspects of this mystery are even more bizarre, though difficult to explain in just a couple of minutes. Example, many of the vanished who are found alive are kids, too young to speak, or kids who can't communicate because of disabilities. Some who are found alive say they can't remember what happened to them. In his books, David Paulides reports on why some obvious explanations simply don't apply here, but he stops short of giving his own theory or explanation.
In radio interviews, Paulides has elaborated a bit with respect to possible explanations. According to his research, Bigfoot sightings have frequently been reported to coincide with these mysterious disappearances. Similarly, UFO sightings have also been reported to coincide with the disappearances. Though he mentions the possibility that these phenomena may have something to do with the disappearances, he urges the public to keep an open mind to all possibilities. Lastly, he points out a strange trend that strong storms often occur immediately after these disappearances take place. Though documented many times, there are still no theories to explain the link between this bizarre weather phenomenon and the disappearances. With so many things left unexplained, Paulides continues gathering data to further his research in the hopes to, one day, make some sort of sense of this mystery. Okay, so the channel I would like to feature today is Rob J. Nova, hosted by my buddy Rob J. His channel showcases indie games. Now, personally, I'm not much of a gamer, but I love this channel because his videos are just really entertaining. His sense of humor and his contagious passion for indie games is, in my opinion, what makes his channel so awesome. So if you're not much of a gamer but enjoy entertaining videos, check out his channel. If you are a gamer, and especially if you want to learn more about indie games, then Rob's channel is an absolute must for you. Check out Rob's video on the game Shadow Core. Also, show Rob some love by subscribing to his channel. Lastly, check out my latest video where I debunk the theories that the Texas Chupacabra case was a canine, raccoon, or possum. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. As always, my friends, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.